Was an empire built on blood and whispers? Did a continent bleed for a single shimmering prize? Could a world's destiny be forged in the fires of conquest and faith? The air hung thick with the stench of dust and something far darker, the metallic tang of 1,000 deaths. It wasn't a battlefield, not exactly. It was Jerusalem, and it was being devoured. Not by armies, not by siege engines, but by a furious, unstoppable wave of humanity. Imagine a city, ancient and proud, suddenly choked by the blackest smoke, a suffocating blanket woven from burning straw and cotton. The defenders, seasoned warriors hardened by years of conflict, were reduced to bewildered, gasping figures, their eyes stinging, their mouths dry, their ability to fight utterly crippled. William of Tyre, a chronicler of the era, paints a brutal picture. Those who were trying to defend the wall could scarcely open their mouths or eyes. It wasn't a strategic advantage, it was a weapon of pure, terrifying chaos. Before this, the world had known empires, vast, sprawling territories ruled by emperors and gods. The Roman Empire, a behemoth of stone and law, had dominated the Mediterranean for centuries. But even Rome, with its legions and its aqueducts, couldn't hold back the tide of a different kind of force, the fervor of religious belief. The early Christians, a small, persecuted sect, had been systematically hunted down and killed across the Roman Empire. Their faith, considered a dangerous contagion, was met with brutal suppression. Yet their numbers grew, fueled by a conviction that bordered on madness, the belief that they were destined to rule, to bring order to a chaotic world. Then came Constantine, a Roman emperor who, in a moment of divine inspiration or perhaps desperate political calculation, legalized Christianity. It was 313 AD, and the Edict of Milan declared religious tolerance throughout the empire. But Constantine didn't just tolerate Christianity, he embraced it. He built churches, he endowed them with wealth, and he declared himself the protector of the Christian faith. He saw in Christianity a unifying force, a way to bind together the disparate peoples of his empire under a single banner. The Milvian Bridge, a pivotal moment in Roman history, became the symbol of this transformation. Legend has it that Constantine, plagued by nightmares and visions, ordered his soldiers to paint a cross on their shields before a battle against the Visigoths. The Romans, miraculously victorious, attributed their triumph to the power of the cross. Constantine then declared that God had chosen him to rule, and he built the first Christian basilica in Rome, a testament to his newfound allegiance. This wasn't merely a change of religion, it was a fundamental shift in the very foundations of the Roman world. But the seeds of this transformation had been sown long before Constantine. Centuries earlier, in the heart of China, a different empire was rising, the Han dynasty. For centuries, China had been ruled by a succession of dynasties, each claiming divine mandate to rule. The emperor was not simply a king, he was considered a son of heaven, a conduit for the gods' will on earth. The concept of the mandate of heaven, the belief that a ruler's legitimacy depended on their virtue and their ability to govern justly, was central to Chinese political thought. If a ruler became corrupt or tyrannical, the mandate of heaven could be withdrawn, leading to rebellion and the overthrow of the dynasty. The Han dynasty, established in 206 BC after the collapse of the Qin dynasty, ushered in a golden age of prosperity and cultural achievement. The Silk Road, a network of trade routes that stretched from China to the west, flourished under Han rule, bringing wealth and ideas to the empire. But even this mighty empire was not immune to external threats. The nomadic Xiongnu, a fierce warrior people from the north, constantly raided Chinese territory, testing the strength of the Han army. Meanwhile, across the Eurasian steppe, another empire was stirring, the Huns. These nomadic warriors, driven westward by pressure from the Mongols, were a terrifying force, capable of shattering armies and laying waste to settlements. Their arrival in Europe in the late 4th century AD sent shockwaves through the Roman Empire. The Romans, already struggling with internal divisions and economic problems, were ill-equipped to deal with the Hunnic invasion. Emperor Julian, a zealous Christian emperor, launched a daring campaign against the Huns, hoping to drive them back to their homeland. But Julian was killed in battle, and the Huns continued their rampage, pushing the Roman frontiers to their limits. The Huns weren't just invaders, they were catalysts, accelerating the decline of the Western Roman Empire. And then came the First Crusade, a desperate attempt by European Christians to liberate the Holy Land Jerusalem from Muslim control. The story of the First Crusade is a tangled web of ambition, religious fervor, and brutal violence. Pope Urban II, a shrewd political operator, called for a crusade in 1095, appealing to the Christian warriors of Europe to fight for the liberation of Jerusalem. He promised remission of sins, the glory of God, and the opportunity to earn eternal salvation. The call to arms resonated with a vast number of people, fueled by a combination of religious zeal, economic hardship, and a desire for adventure. Thousands of knights, nobles, and commoners flocked to join the crusade, forming a massive army that marched east towards the Holy Land. The journey was fraught with peril. The Crusaders faced scorching heat, disease, and hostile tribes. They clashed with the Byzantines, the Eastern Roman Empire, who were wary of the Crusaders' intentions. The Byzantines, weakened by years of war with the Persians, reluctantly agreed to provide the Crusaders with supplies and guidance, but they also demanded a hefty price: the return of Anatolia, the region of modern-day Turkey, to the empire. The Crusaders, eager to reach their goal, accepted the Byzantine demand, setting in motion a chain of events that would have profound consequences for the future of the Middle East. When the Crusaders finally reached Jerusalem in 1099, they unleashed a wave of unprecedented violence. The city, a vibrant center of trade and culture, was transformed into a scene of carnage. The Crusaders slaughtered the Muslim and Jewish inhabitants, massacring an estimated 80,000 people. William of Tyre, a chronicler of the era, described the scene in chilling detail. So terrible was the shedding of blood that even the victors experienced sensations of horror and loathing. The Crusaders looted the city, burned its libraries, and destroyed its mosques. The massacre of Jerusalem was not simply a military victory, it was a symbolic act of cleansing, a brutal assertion of Christian dominance. The capture of Jerusalem ignited a series of crusades, each more ambitious and more violent than the last. The Crusaders established 3 Christian states in the Middle East: the County of Edessa, the Principality of Antioch, and the Kingdom of Jerusalem. These states were fragile and constantly under threat from Muslim forces, but they represented a foothold for Christianity in the Holy Land. Raymond of Toulouse, a powerful French nobleman, was chosen to rule the Kingdom of Jerusalem, but he declined the title of king, fearing the bloodshed and instability that came with the crown. Godfrey of Bouillon, a renowned warrior, was instead offered the position, and he accepted, ruling Jerusalem as its duke and protector. But the story doesn't end with the capture of Jerusalem. The Crusades had a ripple effect, spreading across Europe and transforming the political landscape. The concept of holy war, the idea that violence could be justified by religious belief, became increasingly prevalent. In Spain, Alfonso the Battler, a powerful king, launched a crusade against the Muslim Almoravids, who controlled most of the Iberian Peninsula. The Spanish Crusade, fueled by the same religious fervor that had driven the Crusades in the Middle East, led to the formation of military orders, the Knights Templar and the Knights of Santiago, dedicated to defending Christendom against the Muslim threat. These orders became powerful institutions, wielding considerable political and economic influence. The Knights Templar in particular became legendary. Founded in 1119 by Hugh of Payens, a French nobleman, they were tasked with protecting pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem. They evolved into a formidable fighting force, renowned for their courage and their skill in battle. The Templars established a network of castles and fortifications throughout the Holy Land, providing a vital defense against Muslim attacks. Their emblem, a red cross on a white background, became a symbol of Christian power in the Middle East. The establishment of these military orders marked a turning point in the history of the Crusades. It transformed the Crusades from a sporadic series of military expeditions into a sustained effort to establish and maintain Christian control in the Holy Land. The violence and bloodshed of the Crusades left a lasting legacy, shaping the relationship between the Christian and Muslim worlds for centuries to come. The echoes of those early battles, the screams of the dying, the scent of smoke and blood, they linger still, a grim reminder of the price of faith and the devastating consequences of unchecked ambition. The quest for Jerusalem, the desire to reclaim a sacred city, had unleashed a torrent of violence and destruction. It had forged empires, shattered kingdoms, and shaped the course of Western history. But it had also revealed a darker side of human nature, the capacity for cruelty, for fanaticism, and for the willingness to sacrifice everything in the name of a belief. And so, as the smoke cleared and the dust settled, the question remains, were the Crusaders truly fighting for God, or were they simply pursuing their own selfish ambitions? Was the liberation of Jerusalem worth the immense cost in human lives? The answers, like the history itself, are complex and contested, shrouded in myth, legend, and the enduring mystery of human motivation. Was the world truly destined to be shaped by the clash of faiths?